You, I need to share my screen. Can
Okay,
you?
don't worry, we will.
Okay.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Today is the 27th of February, 2022, and today we have two very special guests from Ecuador, Ines Torres and Carla Montes de Oca. Thank you for giving us part of your Sunday morning time and sharing your expertise. We also have Maria Teresa Terán from Bolivia. Thank you so much. Roxana Tenorio from Lima, Peru. Anthony Michael from Nigeria, but he lives in Lima, Peru, I guess. And Miss Mendoza, Marlene, I guess, from Centro Idiomas Cajamarca. Okay, and today, as usual, let me share my screen with you all so we can see what we are gonna do in the following days. This is my new Facebook account because the other one was hacked. So if you want to contact me, that is my new Facebook account. Now, I can go on with the next one. Just a minute, please. Okay, anybody who wants to read this quote or this, what is written in this picture, please.
Peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding. Albert Einstein. That's so beautiful.
Yeah, anything to say about it? Anybody?
Well, if you allow me, this is a very important quote from Albert Einstein that is telling us actually what we are supposed to do and what we should do in life. Understanding is important, plus communication.
Yes, thank you so much. The next one, my good friend Albert Einstein again. Carla, could you please read it out?
Education is not the learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think.
And that's precisely what you're gonna do with us today, right? And the next one, Inés.
Okay, the first step to personal growth is the ability to make a honest assessment of where you can currently are.
Yes. So anything to say, Inés?
No, that's okay. Okay, I totally agree.
Okay. And self-evaluation is human revolution, but self-revolution is human evolution. Beautiful, right? So if you want to watch all the videos of these wonderful international meetings, you can find them in this channel. And the guest speakers who are presenting next in the following weeks, we will have on Sunday the 13th, Anthony Michael. He will be talking about post-pandemic life in a post-pandemic world. Then our good friend from Tunisia, Mona Boulet, she will be talking about dealing with students' mental health through extracurricular activities. That'll be on Sunday, the 20th of March. Then our wonderful friend, the storyteller from Mexico, Gabriela Ladrón de Guevara, she will be talking about intercultural communication in ELT classroom. That'll be on Sunday, the 27th of March. Our actress, presenter, entrepreneur, and everything else, Ursula Marmol from Peru, she'll be talking back to the classroom with a renovated view. That'll be on Sunday, the 10th of April. A good friend I met from South Africa, Takalani Masho. He'll be talking about teaching and learning multicultural students at university. And at the end of the list, for the first semester, Jose Ricardo from Colombia, who lives in the USA, he will be talking about high leverage teaching practices. And who is presenting today were our good friends, Carla Montes de Oca and Ines Torres de Muñoz from Ecuador. So let me say a few words about Inés. Ines Torres majored in teaching English and has been involved in ELT since 1999. She has taught EFL in elementary schools, high schools, private and public organizations, and universities. She served as head of the language department for a local university in the beautiful city of Loja, and has worked on several projects with universities. Inés has earned degrees of an expert in evaluation and accreditation for universities, distance and virtual education. Inés holds master's degrees in both evaluation in education from Universidad de Sevilla, OLE, in Spain, and TEFL from NOVA Southeastern University in Miami and UTPL in Ecuador. Currently, she is an ETS Associate Director based in Ecuador, and in the year 2017 was named as a Woman of the Year in the city of Loja, Ecuador. Inés received the City Prize award by the mayor of Loja because of her social project to benefit children and women of Ecuador. Thank you so much, Inés. And secondly, we have Carla Lucia Montes de Oca. She has been involved in ELT since 2003. She has taught EFL in universities in Quito, Ecuador. English teacher at Universidad Politécnica Nacional National English coordinator at the American School in Quito, Ecuador. She worked in important English teaching companies. She was the didactic manager, the Sylvian Learning Academy, Barcelona, Spain, in Ecuador, Panama, Costa Rica, and Venezuela. English coordinator at Editorial Normal del Grupo Carvajal de Colombia in Ecuador. Didactic manager for Pearson Education ELT, ESL, for the South Cone, that is Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, and Bolivia. And she's also an ETS Associate Director based in Ecuador. So thank you so much, dear Inés and dear Carla. Thank you so much for the time you are going to share with us and your expertise. The screen is all yours.
Thank you, Jaime. Okay, thank you very much again for being here. I want to share with you important aspects about the reading section for the TOEFL IBT test. And we are going to start. I'm going to close my camera so you can concentrate on my PowerPoint presentation. So my presentation will be in 3 parts. First, we will review the question types. Then we will connect each question type with the learning objectives and some tips for each type of questions. Finally, we will look at some samples of question types. The presentation will probably take around 60 minutes, and there will be time for you to ask questions about this, okay? And feel free if you want to ask any question during the presentation, okay? So what is in the reading for the TOEFL IBT? The TOEFL IBT reading section is designed to assess how well you can read and understand the kind of materials used in an academic environment. It includes 3 or 4 reading passages, each about 700 words long, with 10 questions per passage. And you have 54 to 72 minutes to answer all the questions in each section. The reading passages are all authentic texts that come from academic sources. The reading questions measure the ability to comprehend basic facts and vocabulary, the ability to make inference on the sentence level or across multiple parts of a text, and the ability to read to learn. For example, the ability to distinguish essential points of information from no essential information. Some questions are worth more than 1 point. The raw score on the reading section is converted to a score of 0 to 30. The last question in each set is worth more than 1 point. It could be either 2 points or 3 points. If it is a summary question, it is worth 2 points. If it is a table question, it is worth 2 or 3 points. So the tasks that we have here for the reading section, this measures the reading for basic comprehension and inference, reading to learn, and reading for inference. One way of understanding how reading comprehension operates is through what is called reading purposes. That is why people read texts. In the academic context, students read for various reasons, but generally the most relevant are to understand basic information, for example, the gist of a specific details, and to learn from text, and for example, to understand a text as a whole. So it can be summarized, or to understand which points in the text are essential and which ones are not. Students also have to make inferences about what they read. For example, from generalizations, or draw conclusions from what they have read. So here we have different ways of categorizing. We know that we have different ways of categorizing genre, but normally for academic settings, they are classified as expository, narrative, argumentative, persuasive. Academic texts usually provide new information readers need to learn. The information is organized in different ways, and there are abstract patterns of information organization such as description, definition, sequence, procedure, cause effect, classification, comparison contrast, problem solution. It is important for you to become familiar with the different genres and types of information organization. Okay, I have here in the chat messages. Good morning, good morning. For each reading purpose, there are a number of question types that have been developed for the TOEFL IBT test. For basic comprehension, we have vocabulary questions, sentence simplification questions, factual and negative fact questions. For reading to learn, we have Prose Summary questions, classify, categorize, organize questions. And for inference, we have inference questions, rhetorical purpose questions, and insert questions. I will start with basic comprehension questions, the ones that assess knowledge of vocabulary, sentence structure, semantic abilities, and the ability to identify and understand important information presented in a sentence or paragraph. Vocabulary questions ask you to identify the meaning of words and phrases as they are used in the reading passage. Vocabulary questions ask you to identify the meaning of individual words and phrases as they are used in the reading passage. A word might have more than one meaning, but in the reading passage, only one of those meanings is relevant. Vocabulary that is tested actually occurs in the passage. There is not a list of words that must be tested. Usually a word or phrase is chosen to be tested as vocabulary question because understanding that word or phrase is important to understand a large or important part of the passage. Every reading set includes 1 to 2 vocabulary questions. Vocabulary questions are easy to identify because there will be a word or phrase highlighting in the reading passage. And you will see questions like this with phrases like this: closest in meaning to, or the author means that. The word X in the passage is closest in meaning to. The phrase X in the passage is closest in meaning to. In stating X, the author means that. Now, let's look at examples of vocabulary questions. Each one of the TOEFL questions has its own learning objective. So the learning objective of this type of question is identify vocabulary meaning. In the first excerpt, in the animal world, the task of moving about is fulfilled in many ways. For some animals, locomotion is accomplished by changes in body shape. The word locomotion in the passage is closest in meaning to evolution, movement, survival, escape. Here we have as an answer to movement. That is because locomotion means the ability to move from place to place. In this example, it is a way of restating the phrase, the task of moving in the preceding sentence. So the correct answer is choice B. In the second passage excerpt, some poisonous snake bites need to be treated immediately or the victim will suffer paralysis. In stating that the victim will suffer paralysis, the author means that the victim will lose the ability to move, become unconscious, undergo shock, feel great pain. The answer is, as you can see here on the screen, lose the ability to move. In this example, both the words tested from the passage and the possible answer are phrases. Paralysis means the inability to move. So if the poison from a snake bite causes someone to suffer paralysis, that person will lose the ability to move. For that reason, the correct answer choice is letter A. Here we have vocabulary questions. We can have one single word or we can have a phrase. The words that are tested are academic vocabulary words that you should know if your English is at the level of a university student. You have to keep in mind that there is a difference between academic vocabulary and specialized vocabulary. Academic vocabulary words can be across many fields of study. These are the kind of words you will be tested on. And specialized vocabulary words are specific to one field. Here we have examples. Academic vocabulary, we have arbitrary capacity, fluctuate, relatively. And for specialized, we have here cadence for music, monopolies for business, desertification for earth science, and citations for biology. If you find, or if you have one specialized word during the reading passages, you are going to have the explanation at the end of the reading, okay? So here we have an example of this kind of question. Let's see. This is one that is from a reading passage about meteorite impacts. Here is an excerpt from the passage with the vocabulary word highlighted and a sample question which asks the meaning of the word post. I am going to ask you, please, to read the excerpt on your right and try to find the correct answer for the closest meaning of the word post.
So for any one of us.
For all of you, everybody is going to work today with me. Everybody.
Finally, we want to work, Inés.
Okay, so
and we want to make a mistake. We want to make a mistake.
Yes, and I need that you write your answers on the chat box, please, okay?
Okay, the 14 people who are with us, please write your answer A, B, C, or D.
Okay.
Okay, we have an answer.
Okay, I'm going to wait for the rest.
Okay, we have another answer. Okay, three answers.
Three answers for
Four
answers.
answers. I'm afraid of giving you my answer. I don't want to make a mistake.
Don't say that. We are here.
But it's true. It's true. I'm afraid of making a mistake. So I'm playing.
Mistakes are welcome.
I'm playing the frightened student role.
Okay, we have here, we have B, 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 B. I have here D. Okay, Rosana says D. Who did B, B. Okay. Okay, so now tell me, please, Rosana, why did you choose D?
Could we see your face, Ines, in this moment, please?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay. Why do you think is D?
Trying to substitute, hello, Ines, trying to substitute the word such effects continue to present a natural hazard to life on Earth. So for me, it sounds better. I'm not sure.
Yes, and you are perfectly correct. This is why I asked you to tell me why did you choose letter D, okay?
So Peru, 1 point.
Yeah, 1 point for Peru, okay? So let's continue.
That was right.
Okay, so now we are going to see the second question type, okay? So this is the first for basic comprehension. Now we are going to continue with the next question for basic comprehension. But here first I have some vocabulary tips. Jaimito, can you help us by reading these tips? These are very important tips for this kind of question.
Okay, the first one says, remember that the question is not just asking the meaning of a word. It is asking for the meaning as it is used to be in the passage. Do not choose an answer just because it can be a correct meaning of the word. Understand which meaning the author is using in the passage.
Very good.
Okay, that is the first step. And the second one is reread the sentence in the passage, substituting the word or phrase you have chosen. Confirm that the sentence still makes sense in the context of the whole passage. A good couple of tips for not only for this test, but any reading test.
Yeah, and for then you know that if you are preparing for TOEFL, you are preparing for a real English. So this, as you say, Jaime, these tips are not just for TOEFL test, are for reading, okay? For reading. You can use them with your students, okay? So we are going to continue, okay? Let's see. Just a moment. Okay, sentence simplification questions ask you to identify a sentence that has essentially the same meaning as a sentence from a reading passage. The correct choice contains the main ideas from the sentence in the passage, but may leave out minor or unimportant details. It should restate the most important information in a simple way. In this type of questions, you are asked to choose a sentence that has the same essential meaning as a sentence that occurred in the passage. Not every reading set includes a sentence simplification question. There is never more than one of these questions in a set. Sentence simplification questions are easy to recognize because they are phrased always in, they always are phrased in this way. Which of the sentence below best expresses the essential information in the following sentence? Incorrect choices change the meaning in important ways or leave out essential information. The highlighted sentence will have both essential and non-essential information. What is your job here? Your job is to pick the answer choice that best includes the essential information and leaves out non-essential information. Answering this type of question will require you to understand the relationship between pieces of information in the sentence. Often there is an important cause and effect relationship. Okay, or maybe you are going to find conclusions based on evidence. So here, the most important thing in order to answer this question is to separate main ideas with less important information. Non-essential information can be things like examples, parentheses, numbers, dates. So the tip here, the big tip here is separate the main ideas from less important information. Let's see. I told you that each one of the questions for TOEFL IBT has its own learning objective. So I would like that to look at this example of sentence simplification, okay? The learning objective of this type of question is to recognize and create accurate paraphrases of information from a text, okay? To answer sentence simplification questions, choose the statement that best expresses the highlighting area of the passage and that does not change its meaning in any way or leave out important information. As you can see here is paraphrasing. What we have to do, we are going to practice now together. So let's see the question. Which of the following best expresses the essential information in the bolded sentence? Incorrect answer choices change the meaning in important ways or leave out essential information. What is our job? We are going to read this, okay, this bolded sentence, and now we are going to choose one of these options that paraphrases the sentence, that says the same thing in other words. So now we are going to do together this. Everybody read the paragraph.
Okay, and test it again.
Yes, we are going to practice in all our...
That's good because, okay, because we teachers need to feel the same feelings our students feel.
Yes, so now let's do that. We are going to read the paragraph and we are going to pay special attention. Here, it's not necessary to read the whole paragraph, I think. Here, the most important thing is that you concentrate in the bolded sentence and try to find the answer. Which of these says the same thing in other words? Because you know that you have to paraphrase here. Mhm. I have two answers. Mhm. Judith, Rosana. Mhm. Mm. So I have here Judith, Rosana. Mhm. Mhm. I have Rosita. B. Any other? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so now we have here, okay, I have here CV. Mhm. We are going to, you have to remember that we have to take into consideration that we have to look for the all that this sentence have all the included, okay? We can't leave important details out, okay? So you say, here I have answers with letter B and letter C. Let's see what's the correct answer. So here we have, A is the correct answer. A makes the same point as the highlighted sentence. It includes all the essential information that we need to have. Why is not C? Leaves out important information or the idea from the highlighted sentence. Like the highlighted sentence, it says that the form of functional objects is not arbitrary, but it does not say that it is physical laws that determine basic form. And also you choose, let me see, B. Changes the meaning. Okay, it says that the function of applied art objects are determined by physical laws. And the highlighted sentence says that the form of objects is determined by physical laws, but the function is determined by people. So this is why it's not the answer C or B. So we have to pay attention in this. And that is the second question for basic comprehension, okay? I'm going to ask to Rosana, could you read please the tips that we have for this type of question?
Sure, thank you. Skills building tips. Tips for sentences simplification questions. Make sure you understand both ways. A choice can be incorrect. It represents information in the highlighted sentence. It leaves out something important from the highlighted sentence. Make sure your answer does not contradict the main argument of the paragraph in which the sentence occurs, or the passage as a whole.
Okay, so let's see.
Mhm.
Thank you very much. We
Thank
are
you.
going to continue with the next question, which is factual information question. These questions ask you to identify specific information that is typically mentioned only in a part of the passage. Each reading set includes from 2 to 5 questions of this. Factual information questions, as they ask you to identify information that is explicitly stated in the passage, you have to know that they focus on facts, details, definitions, or other information presented by the author. Factual information questions are easy to recognize because they are phrased in one of these ways. According to the paragraph, paragraph X answers which of the following? Now let's look at an example of factual information question. Its learning objective is identify key facts and important information in the passage. The question asks you to identify specific information that is typically mentioned only in a part of the passage. They generally don't ask about general themes that the passage as a whole discusses. Often, the relevant information is in 1 or 2 sentences. Okay? To answer this type of question, please take into consideration the following suggestions. You may need to refer back to the passage in order to know what exactly is said about the subject of the question. And you don't select an answer just because it is mentioned in the passage. Eliminate choices that present information that is contradicted in the passage. And your choice should answer the specific question that was asked. So again, we are going to practice now. I would like you to read this example question and try to find the answer. The question is, according to paragraph 2, this is paragraph 2 because TOEFL always is going to tell you in what paragraph you have to do to answer is the answer of the question, okay? According to paragraph 2, sculptures in the Italian Renaissance stopped using cannonballs in bronze statues of horses because you have here the choices and you need to read this in order to answer the question. In this case, we need to read the passage or the paragraph.
There is already an answer.
Yes, I have an answer already. Okay, Rosanna has an, okay. Any other? Okay, good. So, okay, you, Marco and Rosanna, you are correct. Let's see, here we have. The answer is B. Okay, so because it correctly identifies the reason that the passage gives for the change, sculptures develop a way to strengthen the statue from the inside, making the cannibals physically unnecessary. Okay, I'm going to ask to Maria Teresa to read the tips for this type of question, please.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you
Tips
too.
for factual information questions. You may need to refer back to the passage in order to know what exactly is said about the subject of the question. Since the question may be about a detail, you may not recall the detail from your first reading of the passage. Eliminate choices that present information that is contradicted in the passage. Do not select an answer just because it is mentioned in the passage. Your choice should answer the specific question that was asked.
Very good. And we are going to see the last question for basic comprehension, for the first set of questions that we have for the reading sections in the TOEFL IBT test. Negative factual information questions are similar to factual information questions, except that instead of only one answer being true, 3 of the 4 answers are true, and you have to determine which one is false. Each reading set includes from 0 to 2 negative questions. So here we have negative fact questions, ask you to verify what information is true and what information is not true or not included in the passage, based on information that is explicitly stated in the passage. To answer this question, first locate the relevant information in the passage, then verify that 3 of the 4 choices are true and the remaining choice is false. Remember, for this type of question, the correct answer is one that is not true. How to recognize this question? Very easy, because you are going to find the word not and except in capital letters, okay? Here we have the examples. According to the paragraph, which of the following is not true? The author mentions all of the following except. Now let's look at an example of negative fact question. The learning objectives, because here we have more than one objective, are identify key facts and important information in a passage, recognize and create accurate paraphrases of information from a text, and recognize statements that are not accurate paraphrases of information from a text. Okay, so here we have an example, and the question is, the passage discusses applied art objects in relation to all of the following, except. Remember that here we have to look for something that it's not in the passage or it's not true. Let's practice, okay? My idea is that you know all the questions, and the way that we are going to learn today is doing each one of them, okay? It's by doing each one of them. So let's see. In this case, we already have the answer, but I have for you this one. This is paragraph 4. According to paragraph 4, all of the following statements are true of the impact at the end of the Cretaceous period, except. So we are going to read this and we are going to look for the information. A tip that I'm going to give you is, let's see how many correct choices can find by scanning for keywords that appear in the answers. For example, dust. Here we have dust, sunlight, cold, dark, crust. Okay, and then we are going to see if we have here these words too. We may also need to look for synonyms of these words. So please, I am going to ask you to read the excerpt on your right and try to find the answers. Remember, 3 are correct and only 1 is the information is not included in the passage or it's not true. That's the correct answer. Okay, I have an answer. Excellent. Okay, I have an answer here. Maybe any other answer? Okay. Good. You both are correct.
Hey.
Yes.
You need to send them a present from Ecuador.
Okay,
Please.
we will. So here we have that letter C is our correct answer because there is nothing in the paragraph that talks about new elements of the earth crust. So that is the answer. Okay, that is the first set. Okay, but we have here, I'm going to ask to, let me see one participant here. Okay. Maria, please, could you help us by reading the tips for negative factual information questions?
That is Maria Teresa?
Maria Teresa, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Tips for negative factual information questions. Usually, a negative factual information questions require you to check more of the passage than a factual information question. The 3 choices that are mentioned in the passage may be spread across a paragraph or several paragraphs. In negative factual information questions, the correct answer either directly contradicts one or more statements in the passage or is not mentioned in the passage at all. After you finish a negative factual information question, check your answer to make sure you have accurately understood the task.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Welcome.
Okay, so let's see. Now we are going to see reading to learn questions. Okay, the questions that we just learned, basic comprehension. Now we are going to work with reading to learn questions. Reading to learn requires the ability to manage the following reading relationships: understand the ideas in a text and connect them into a logical and complete summary, theory, hypothesis, or point of view. Understand relationships between ideas. This can include one or more of the following kinds of relationships: compare and contrast, cause and effect, agree, disagree, problem, solution. And there are 2 types of this kind of questions, okay? Prose summary question and fill in a table question. Let's start with the first question, which is prose summary questions. Prose summary questions measure your ability to understand and recognize the major ideas and the relative importance of information in a passage. You will be asked to select the major ideas in the passage by distinguishing them from minor ideas or ideas that are not in the passage. The correct answer choice will synthesize major ideas in the passage. Because the correct answer represents a synthesis of ideas, it will not match any particular sentence of the passage. To select the correct answer, you will need to create a mental framework to organize and remember major ideas and other important information, understand the importance of information in a passage, which is critical to this ability. And also in a Prose Summary question, there are 6 answer choices, okay? 3 correct choices express the most important ideas, and 3 incorrect choices misrepresent information or discuss minor points. In the real test, you will drag and drop your answer into the box. So here we have an example, okay? Prose Summary questions are worth 2 points toward the raw score. You get 2 points if you choose 3 correct answers, as you can see here in the chart. 1 point if you choose 2 correct answers, and 0 points if you have 1 or 0 correct answers. Something very important for you to know is that your answer don't have to be in any particular order, and you can change your answer at any point during the time for the reading section. So you can just drag here the correct ones. It's not necessary that you, or they don't have a specific order here, okay? And here we have an example of Prose Summary question. The learning objectives are: recognize the organization and purpose of the passage, create a mental framework such as a category chart or an outline summary for organizing major points in important detail, distinguish between major and minor points of information, recognize the minor less important ideas that don't belong in a summary or category chart, and recognize and create accurate paraphrases of information from a text. I have here an example of this question. You can see here that I have the correct answers, just in order to show you that you have to look for the correct answers here and drag here in this chart. Here is the scoring as I show you. And here, this is very important, okay? Because you can work to improve your reading skills by creating your own outlines or charts. Here I have 2 examples. Chart 1, that is a spider map, is a graphic organizer that can be used to organize your ideas, aspects, thoughts, okay, of a single topic. And you have also a graphic organizer that will help you to identify main ideas and supporting details of paragraphs. You know that during the TOEFL, yes?
Sorry, just to remind you, it's an hour, Inés, an hour for the listening to.
Yes,
Okay.
we almost finishing because I wanted that they practice at least basic.
Oh, it's okay. Perfect. Perfect.
Okay. In the second,
just a
I want
reminder.
to show.
Just a friendly reminder.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So here we have this chart. And here you are going to have the example. This is an example of a Prose Summary question. You have to read for about 5 minutes a reading, and then you are going to have here, okay, the question that says an introductory sentence for a brief summary of the passage is provided below. Complete the summary by selecting 3 answer choices that express the most important ideas in the passage. Okay, some of the sentences don't belong in the summary because they express ideas that are not presented in the passage or minor ideas. You have here 2 points, okay, for this question. The only thing that you have to do is to read here and drag the correct answer. And here we have, okay? Someday I'm going to ask you to read and we are going to do the exercise, okay? So let's see, we are going to go with the next question, which is fill in a table question. The fill in a table question is similar to the previous question, to the Prose Summary question, except that instead of choosing the 3 most important ideas, you will need to drag and drop your answers into 2 or 3 categories like this. Here you have the topic that is arts, and the topic is divided in subtopics like the applied arts and the fine arts. So you have to read, and then you are going to have the choices here for both subtopics. You have to organize them and you have to drag the answers for each one of the topics, okay? For the scoring, the test takers are going to receive 3 points for this question, depending on how many correct answers are selected and correctly placed. For example, we have for 0, 1, or 2 correct answers, test takers receive no credit. For 3 correct answers, they receive 1 point. For 4 correct answers, they receive 2 points. And for all 5 correct answers, they receive 3 points. So here we have the table. Here we have, this is another example. Here we have opportunists, competitors, and you have to select the information for them, okay? The same thing, I recommend Spider Map and Graphic Organizer for you to take notes while you read in order to answer these questions. Here we have an example. This is about applied arts and fine arts. And here we have the correct answers, okay? These are the 2 questions for reading to learn, okay? And we have the last set, which is inference questions, okay? Inference questions. We have inference questions and rhetorical purpose questions, okay? Let's start with inference questions. Okay, these questions measure your ability to comprehend an argument, an idea that is strongly implied, but not explicitly stated in the text. For example, if an effect is cited in the passage, an inference question might ask about its cause. If a comparison is made, an inference question might ask for the basis of this comparison. You should think about not only the explicit meaning of the author's words, but also the logical implication of these words. How to recognize this kind of questions, okay? You are going to recognize very easily because you are going to find the words infer, implies, and suggests here in the question. Which of the following can be inferred from paragraph 1 about X? The author of the paragraph implies that X. Paragraph X suggests which of the following? And here we have an example. You know that we just are going to read examples in this time, okay? The learning objective of this type of question is make inferences from generalizations and draw conclusions based on what is implied in the passage. The question is, which of the following can be inferred from paragraph 1 about candles before 19th century? You have to read, okay, I have here. No, yes, Jimmy asked the question, yes. No, it's not mentioned in the passage. You have to infer, to imply. Okay, that is why they are called inference questions, right? Then we have here, sorry, okay? So then we have here the example and here we have the answer. If we have time, we read this and we have the answer, the same as we were doing in the previous examples. So here we have some tips. Make sure your answer does not contradict the main idea of the passage. Don't choose an answer just because it seems important or true. The correct answer must be inferable from the passage. You should be able to defend your choice by pointing to explicitly stated information in the passage that leads to the inference you have selected. And then we have rhetorical purpose questions. Okay, so here we have the rhetorical purpose questions. Also, they are questions that are asked why the author has presented a particular piece of information in a particular way. In other words, what information does the author present and why does he present that information in that way? This type of question allows you to discover the author's perspective in a deep. These kinds of questions require that you concentrate on logical links between the author's ideas, explanations, and perspectives. How to recognize this kind of question? Because you are going to have why. Why does the author mentions this? Why? To answer rhetorical purpose questions, please focus on logical links between the sentences and paragraphs. Answer the question of what information is presented in the passage and why the author is presented in that way. So here we have an example of this kind of question. The learning objectives: recognize and create accurate paraphrases of information from a text, make inferences from generalizations, and draw conclusions based on what is implied in a passage. So here you have to read, pay special attention to the bolded sentence. Why does the author introduce this claim? This is the claim. So you have to read and try to say why he includes this claim. Okay? In this case, we have that he included this claim in order to give an example of a particular kind of applied art. And finally, we have the last question for inference. Okay, but we have our tips. You can, if you want, you can print these tips that are important for you. Know the definitions of these words or phrases, okay, which are often used to describe different kinds of rhetorical purposes, like to illustrate, to explain, to contrast, to refute, to note, to criticize. Rhetorical purpose questions usually don't ask about the overall organization of the reading passage. Instead, they typically focus on the logical links between sentences and paragraphs. And the last question for this inference question group is insert text question. In this type of question, you are giving a new sentence and are asked where in the passage it would best fit. You need to understand the logic of the passage as well as the grammatical connections like pronouns or pronoun references between sentences. Every set includes one of these kind of questions. Insert text questions are easy to identify when talking about TOEFL IBT because in the passage you will see 4 blanks, 4 black squares. One here you have. Sometimes all 4 squares appear in one paragraph. You are then asked to ask this question. Look at the 4 squares that indicate where the following sentence could be added to the passage. What is your job here? Your job is to click on one of the squares and insert this sentence. So the following is an example of this question. So here We have the learning objectives, recognize the logical sequence of written material, make inferences from generalizations and draw conclusions based on what is implied in the passage. And here we have the example. All three of them have strengths and weakness, but none adequately answer all of the questions in the painting presented. So here you have to insert this, and for this question, the correct answer choice is square one. So these are the questions for the reading section for the TOEFL IBT. I hope you have learned a little bit about these questions. And then just it's a matter of practice. If you know the questions and the strategies and the learning objective for each one of the questions, you can practice a lot the reading section for the TOEFL IBT. As you can see, it's very academic, very well organized, and it evaluates with learning objectives each one of the questions. Thank you very much. Hope you have learned. And now I'm going to stop sharing my screen because my colleague Carla Montes de Oca is going to start with her wonderful listening workshop. Welcome, Carlita.
Thank you so much, dear Ines. Thank you. And you have, it's 10:39 till 12:30, dear Carla. Okay, go on.
Your microphone is closed, Carlita.
Thank you. Thank you. So I guess I'll start sharing my presentation right now.
Okay.
So, okay. Just let me know if you can see it.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. Thank you, Roxana. I've been watching you and you are so concentrated. Thank you. Okay. Well, thank you all for your participation again. And I know you're running out of time. So we're going to start right now. Okay. So we're going to learn a little bit about the listening section for the TOEFL IBT. So we're going to start right now. Okay. Okay. So let me check. Okay, that everything is okay. Okay, so once again, in case you didn't start this presentation with us, my name is Carla, and I'm going to talk to you about the listening section for the TOEFL IBT. My presentation will be in 3 parts. First, we'll review the question types, then we'll connect each question with objectives, and finally, we'll look at some samples. This presentation will probably take around, well, now 50 minutes since we have less time, and we're going to start right now. Okay, so now let's talk about the background. Okay, the basic, we have 3 listening purpose in academic settings. The first one is basic comprehension. Then we have pragmatic understanding, and then we have connect and synthesize information. The basic comprehension questions the test taker sees in the test might ask something like what the speakers are mainly discussing. The pragmatic understanding questions might ask the test taker why a professor mentions a particular detail in a lecture. The connecting information questions might ask the test taker to make an inference about something that is not directly stated in a conversation. These are included in the test because they are relevant to what university students would be asked to do either in a classroom or on campus. They are based on real-life academic listening and the situations that a university student would encounter. Okay, now let's talk about the types of listening stimuli. So we have conversations, discussions with professors, service encounters, and we have lectures. In lectures, we have monologues, just professors speaking, and we have interactive, professors and students, okay? So the listening test items were designed to draw on types of listening activities that actually occur in real life. They are designed to be relevant across disciplines and levels of education. A lecture given might be representative of a science class, a history class, an arts class, or a class in one of several other disciplines. To make the term service encounters more clear, that might include a librarian given information on how to use a new reference tool, a foreign student advisor given information or advice on course selection, a laboratory or teaching assistant explaining an experiment or homework assignment. Okay. Now, let's talk about the TOEFL IBT listening section. We have academic lectures, 3 to 4 lectures, some with classroom discussions, approximately 5 minutes long. Each lecture is followed by 6 questions. Then we have informal campus conversations. Test takers are going to find 2 to 3 conversations. They're approximately 3 minutes long, and each conversation is followed by 5 questions. All questions are worth 1 point. Okay. Now, we have basic comprehension in the listening section as well. So for basic comprehension of a lecture or conversation, it is tested in 3 ways: gist content, gist purpose, and detailed questions. Now, let's talk about gist content questions right now. Just let me know if I'm going too fast, okay? I'm just trying to cover everything during this hour. Okay, gist content questions is understanding the gist of a lecture or conversation, okay? It means understanding the general topic or main idea. Questions that test understanding the gist of a lecture or conversation may require you to generalize or synthesize information from what you hear. Gist content questions are typically phrased as follows: what problem does the man have? What are the speakers mainly discussing? What are the man is speaking about? What is the lecture mainly about? What aspect of X does the professor mainly discuss? Now, let's talk about gist purpose question. Okay. Gist purpose questions focus on the purpose of the conversation or lecture rather than on the content. So how to recognize gist purpose questions? Gist purpose questions are typically phrased as follows: why does the student visit the professor? Why does the student ask the professor XY question? Why did the professor ask to see the student? Why does the professor explain X? So as you can see, why is the key word, okay, for gist purpose questions. Then right now, I'm going to ask you to listen carefully to this conversation. As you know, note-taking is allowed during the test. So if you have a piece of paper and a pen, try taking notes on this conversation.
Okay.
I'm going to stop share because I forgot to share the sound.
Okay, we are going to wait.
I'm sorry about that. Share sound. This again and okay. Ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Listen to part of a conversation between a coach and a student, catching up on what happened while the student was away.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Hey, Coach. I just thought I'd stop by to see what I missed while I was gone.
Well, we've been working real hard on our plan for the next game. I've asked Susan to go over it with you before practice this afternoon, so you'll know what we're doing.
Okay.
By the way, how did your brother's wedding go?
Oh, it was beautiful. And the whole family was there. I saw aunts and uncles and cousins I hadn't seen in years.
So it was worth the trip.
Oh, definitely. I'm sorry I had to miss practice, though. I feel bad about that.
Family's very important.
Yep. Okay, I guess I'll see you this afternoon at practice then.
Just a minute. There are a couple of other things I need to tell you.
Oh, okay.
First, everybody's getting a new team jacket.
Wow, how'd that happen?
A woman who played here about 25 years ago came through town a few weeks ago and saw a game and said she wanted to do something for the team, so...
So she's buying us new jackets?
Yep.
Wow, that's really nice of her.
Yes, it is. It's great that former players still care so much about our school and our basketball program. Anyway, you need to fill out an order form. I'll give it to you now so you can bring it back this afternoon. I've got the forms from the other players, so as soon as I get yours, we can order. Maybe we'll have the jackets by the next game.
Okay.
Great. And the next thing is, you know Mary's transferring to another college next week. So we'll need someone to take over her role as captain for the second half of the season. And the other players unanimously picked you to take over as captain when Mary leaves.
Wow. I saw everybody this morning and nobody said a word.
They wanted me to tell you. So, do you accept?
Of course.
Okay. So,
Listen to part of a
okay, so an example of a GIST content question for this passage is, what are the speakers mainly discussing? And an example of a GIST purpose question is, why does the student go to see the coach? So I'm going to ask you to read these options and place your answer on the chat box, okay?
Okay,
Thank you, Jaimito.
my pleasure.
So who chooses A, who chooses B, who chooses C, who chooses D? Jaimito, what would be your answer?
Oops. As I said at the beginning, I'm afraid of making mistakes.
No, don't be afraid. We all learn from our mistakes.
That's why. So Roxy, Carla, Inés, Maria Teresa, you are all invited to give your answers. Anthony, Mateo, Rosa, Jimmy, Marco Antonio in Mexico.
Marco Antonio, hi.
You know Marco Antonio?
No, but I love Mexico.
Hello, thank you.
Hi, Marco Antonio. So surprise me. So what are the speakers mainly discussing? How the woman should prepare for the next game, the woman's responsibilities as team captain, things that happened while the woman was away, D, the style of the new team uniforms.
Well, Jimmy says be a captain, and Roxana says sí, GIST content.
No, I'm just talking about this first
sorry,
question.
Sorry.
My answer is there, letter C also.
Okay, see, okay.
Oh, me too. My answer is letter C because they're talking about the new caption in the team. That is the mainly the GIST idea. I don't know if I'm wrong.
Okay, no, you're right. So the answer is C. Now let's move on to, why does the student go to see the coach? To see how the woman should prepare for the next game, to find out about the woman's responsibilities as team captain, to find out what had happened while the woman was away, or to discuss the style of the new team uniforms. Rosa Julia?
Rosa Julia, Casa Rivera. Not around.
What would be your answer choice? Rosanna,
Yes.
what would be your answer choice?
For me, it would be the very first one, letter A.
Letter A.
To see how
How
the
the
woman
woman-
should prepare for the next game, because she was
Okay.
absent He couldn't come for the previous training.
Exactly.
I
So,
think.
okay, so according to what you said, then it would be C, to find out what had happened while the woman was away, right? Yes? What do you think?
I think that is the one that I put it for GIS content.
Okay, yes. Okay, Dada.
May I say something? It could be the answer C. Oh yeah, thank you.
Yes. So for both questions, the answer is C. Okay. So for example, like whichever question in this case is asked, you can figure out the answer by focusing on the main point of the conversation. Yes. The female student, right, Rosanna, tells us the reason for going to see the coach in the early part of the conversation when she says, I just thought I'd stop by to see what I missed while I was gone, right? So that tells us both the main idea of the conversation and why she went to see the coach. So for both questions, the best answer is C, right?
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to talk about detailed questions, okay? Okay, give me one second. I'm going to minimize your screen. Now, okay, so as it's in the name, detailed questions. So detailed questions require you to understand and remember explicit details or facts from a lecture or conversation. These details are typically related directly or indirectly to the gist of the conversation or lecture by providing elaboration, examples, or other support. In some cases where there is a long digression that is not clearly related to the main idea, you may be asked about some details of that digression. Detailed questions are typically phrased as follows. According to the professor, what is one way that X can affect Y? Or what is X? What resulted from the invention of Y? According to the professor, what is the main problem with the X theory? Okay, so you're going to be asked about a specific information, a specific facts, a specific details. Okay, so note taking again is the key. Now, I'm going to ask you again to listen carefully. Okay.
Okay. I guess I'll see you this afternoon at practice then.
Just a minute. There are a couple of other things I need to tell you.
Oh, okay.
First, everybody's getting a new team jacket.
Wow. How'd that happen?
A woman who played here about 25 years ago came through town a few weeks ago and saw a game and said she wanted to do something for the team, so...
So she's buying us new jackets?
Yep.
Wow, that's really nice of her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, the question is, okay, who's buying new jackets for the team? The coach, the captain of the team, a former player, or a group of basketball fans? Can you please share? Who said that?
Roxy in Lima.
Exactly, yes. A former player. So again, okay, a detailed question will always be a fact that is directly stated in the listening passage. The coach explicitly tells the woman that a former player is the one who's buying the team jackets, which makes C the correct answer, okay? Now, we're going to move on to pragmatic understanding questions. Pragmatic understanding questions explore the speaker's intentions and attitudes, which often are not directly expressed. The content of the conversation and the tone of voice also carry meaning. That's very important. Okay, now we're going to talk about function questions. Okay. Function questions explore what the speaker hopes to accomplish or what motivates the speaker. When a speaker asks a question, for example, is he, she actually asking for information, or is the question rhetorical, not requiring an answer. Function questions ask you to identify the particular meaning of a statement in a given content, because a statement can have different meanings depending on the situation. In other words, the real meaning is different from the surface or literal meaning. For example, check here, please. Okay. For example, if you're in a room with other people and someone says, "It's getting chilly in here," what they might be really saying is, "Could someone close the window?" Okay. So you can recognize function questions because they include phrases like, "What does the professor mean when he says?" Or, "Why does the student say?" Okay, I'm going to ask you again to listen and pay close attention.
Coach, I just thought I'd stop by to see what I missed while I was gone.
Well, we've been working real hard on our plan for the next game. I've asked Susan to go over it with you before practice this afternoon, so you'll know what we're doing.
Okay.
By the way, how did your brother's wedding go?
Oh, it was beautiful. And the whole family was there. I saw aunts and uncles and cousins I hadn't seen in years.
So it was worth the trip.
Oh, definitely. I'm sorry I had to miss practice, though. I feel bad about that.
Family's very important.
Yep. Okay, I guess I'll see you this afternoon at practice then.
Here's an example.
Okay.
Coach,
Oh.
I just...
So, yeah, here's an example of a function question. So what does the man mean when he says family is very important? Okay. He hopes the woman's family is doing well. He would like to meet the woman's family. The woman should spend more time with her family. The woman had a good reason for missing practice.
Yeah,
The last one.
The woman had a good reason for missing practice.
Yeah.
Yay. My God, you guys are amazing. Yeah, that's the right answer. So when the coach asks about the wedding and he says things like, "So it was worth the trip and family is very important," correct? Like you can conclude that the coach understands and agrees with her decision to miss practice. So of course, D is the correct answer. The woman had a good reason for missing practice. Awesome. So now attitude questions, listening. I got inspired by Jaimito when he said Peru won, the rest 0 or something like that, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Exactly. You're an inspiration. So now let's move on to attitude questions. So attitude questions assess whether the test taker understands the attitude or position of the speaker. The question might ask about the speaker's feelings, likes or dislikes, or how certain he or she is about something. For example, the expression "yeah, right," or "yeah, right," or "yeah, right" can mean entirely different things depending on how, where, and by whom it is said, correct? So these questions are typically phrased as follows. What can be inferred about the student? What is the professor's attitude toward X? What is the professor's opinion of X? Okay. Now, this is a lecture. This is not a conversation. This is a monologue. So I'm going to ask you to take notes. Okay, ready?
Okay, ready?
Great, always ready.
Yes.
Today, I'd like to introduce you to a novel that some critics consider the finest detective novel ever written. It was also the first. We're talking about The Moonstone by Wilkie Collins. Now, there are other detective stories that preceded The Moonstone historically, notably the work of Poe, Edgar Allan Poe's stories, such as The Murders in the Rue Morgue and The Purloined Letter. Now, these were short stories that featured a detective, probably the first to do that. But The Moonstone, which follows them by about 20 years, it was published in 1868, This is the first full-length detective novel ever written. Now, in The Moonstone, if you read it as, come to it as a contemporary reader, what's interesting is that most of the features you find in almost any detective novel are, in fact, already present. It's hard at this juncture to read this novel and realize that no one had ever done that before, because it all seems so strikingly familiar. It's really a wonderful novel, and I recommend it even just as a fun book to read if you've never read it.
Okay. Now, here's an attitude question. What attitude does the professor express when he says this?
What attitude does the professor express when he says this?
It's hard at this juncture to read this novel and realize that no one had ever done that before, because it all seems so strikingly familiar.
So he's impressed by the novel's originality. He's concerned that students may find the novel difficult to read. He's bored by the novel's descriptions of ordinary events. He's eager to write a book about a less familiar subject. A, B, C, D.
A.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!
Yay! Oh my God!
Yeah.
All right.
Good students, good students.
Oh my God, yes. You're TOEFL #1 prepared.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Now we're going to move on to connect and synthesize information. And for that, we're going to start with organization questions. So in understanding organization questions, you may be asked about the overall organization of a lecture, or you may be asked about the relationship between two portions of what you heard. Understanding organization questions are typically phrased as follows. How does the professor organize the information about X? How is the discussion organized? Why does the professor discuss X? Why does the professor mention X? Okay.
Okay.
How a lecture is structured? How often how about the examples in a lecture? Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you again to pay attention while listening. All right?
All right.
So now Cuff arrives. Cuff is the man who's coming to solve the mystery. And again, he has a lot of the characteristics that future detectives throughout the history of this genre will have. He's eccentric. He has a hobby that he's obsessive about. In this case, it's the love of roses. He's a fanatic about the breeding of roses. And here, think of Nero Wolfe and his orchids, Sherlock Holmes and his violin. A lot of those later classic detective heroes have this kind of outside interest that they go to as a kind of antidote to the evil and misery they encounter in their daily lives. Now, these detective heroes, they have this characteristic of being smart, incredibly smart, but of not appearing to be smart. And most importantly, from a kind of existential point of view, these detectives see things that other people do not see. And that's why the detective is such an important figure, I think, in our modern imagination. In the case of The Moonstone, I don't want to say too much here and spoil it for you, but the clue that's key to the solving of the crime is a smeared bit of paint in a doorway. Of course, the regular police have missed this paint smear or made some sort of unwarranted assumption about it. Cuff sees this smear of paint, the place where the paint is smeared, and realizes that from this one smear of paint, you can actually deduce the whole situation, the whole world. And that's what the hero in a detective novel like this brings to it that the other characters don't. It's this ability to see meaning where others see no meaning, and to bring order to where it seems there is no order. So
now, here's an example of an organization question, okay? So, why does the professor mention a smeared bit of paint in a doorway in the Moonstone? To describe a mistake that Sergeant Cuff has made, to show how realistically the author describes the crime scene, to exemplify a pattern repeated in many other detective stories, to illustrate the superior techniques used by the police.
Last one, probably.
Why? Okay, let's analyze each one. Why do you say it's D?
Because I think when he's talking about the smear paint in the doorway, he says that it's a detail that he used to describe the problem, the crime.
Well, option C, you're saying, I'm sorry, you said D, this one? Okay, option D can be eliminated because the professor states that the police officers didn't notice the smear paint. So option D is not correct.
Okay.
But thank you. Another volunteer?
Anyone else? Jimmy, Marco, Maria Teresa, Anthony, Mateo.
I am thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm analyze.
Okay.
We have Mexico,
tricky.
we have Bolivia, we have Peru. Come on.
Yeah, Mexico,
Yeah,
Ecuador.
of course.
We're all siblings, and it's okay if we make mistakes.
Yeah.
We all make mistakes. The more mistakes we make, the more we learn.
Yeah.
I will go now for second choice, the second one, B.
I think for me that is A. I think A, the first, is the most.
Okay.
A.
Okay.
Say something, sorry.
To describe a mistake that Sergeant Cuff has made. A? You said A?
Yeah, yes, sure, yes.
Okay.
A, I think, might be. I'm not sure, but.
Okay, so choice A can be ruled out because the professor directly states that noticing the smeared paint is the key to solving the crime, not a mistake. So A is not the correct answer. So we have B and C.
I go for
Say something, sorry. Can I say something?
Yeah, of course.
Well, these type of exercises have usually been difficult for me, for example, but one of the purposes of this is to acquire strategies for identifying the correct answers, right? When I read A, C, and D, that sounds to me, according to what I understood, as not the right answers for some reasons. It seems to me they state the information as I don't know, very clearly, and I don't know, I cannot explain, but that sounds not appropriate. I think, and this is the strategy that I think I am using. I think it's B, because that statement, to show how realistically the author describes the crime scene, speaks about the general activity or the general situation that I was able to understand by the speaker. That's my point.
Okay. Okay, like for option B to be correct, there would have been a pattern of discussion details from the crime scene. But remember that the smeared paint is the only visual detail, right? From the
Right.
crime scene that is mentioned. So option B is
Okay.
not correct.
So it's letter C.
It's letter
C
C.
is the one.
Okay.
Why is it C? Because like option C is the best answer, because the professor talks about hero detectives in mystery novels and the characteristics they have in common. And the professor indicates that there is a pattern.
It's really quite tricky, this one.
Yes, so I'm going to give you a tip. Okay, so you have to be aware, yes, that there are like some important keywords. For example, listen for signal words that indicate the introduction, major ideas, examples, and the conclusion or summary. And for like skill building tips, like you need to like focus on signal words like first, next, then, second, finally, after, before, during, now, since, obviously, for example, for instance, in conclusion, to summarize. Would you like to listen again to the lecture?
Sure.
Yes, please. Yes.
We might have some 3 extra minutes later on. Yes, is that okay, Jaimito?
Do not worry. Do not worry.
Okay.
dear Karen.
All right. Just checking on time. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to, okay, remember the question. Why does the professor mention a smeared bit of paint in the doorway in the Moonstone? Okay, so these are the options. To describe a mistake that Sergeant Cuff has made. To show how realistically the author describes the crime scene. To exemplify a pattern repeated in many other detective stories. Yes, remember that C is the best, the correct answer. And D, to illustrate the superior techniques used by the police. Okay. I'm sorry. Let's go back. Let's go back.
So now Cuff arrives. Cuff is the man who's coming to solve the mystery. And again, he has a lot of the characteristics that future detectives throughout the history of this genre will have. He's eccentric. He has a hobby that he's obsessive about. In this case, it's the love of roses. He's a fanatic about the breeding of roses. And here, think of Nero Wolfe and his orchids, Sherlock Holmes and his violin. A lot of those later classic detective heroes have this kind of outside interest that they go to as a kind of antidote to the evil and misery they encounter in their daily lives. Now, these detective heroes, they have this characteristic of being smart, incredibly smart, but of not appearing to be smart. And most importantly, from a kind of existential point of view, these detectives see things that other people do not see. And that's why the detective is such an important figure, I think, in our modern imagination. In the case of the Moonstone, I don't want to say too much here and spoil it for you, but the clue that's key to the solving of the crime is a smeared bit of paint in a doorway. Of course, the regular police have missed this paint smear or made some sort of unwarranted assumption about it. Cuff sees this smear of paint, this paint, the place where the paint is smeared, and realizes that from this one smear of paint, you can actually deduce the whole situation, the whole world. And that's what the hero in a detective novel like this brings to it that the other characters don't. It's this ability to see meaning where others see no meaning, and to bring order to where it seems there is no order.
Okay. Now, Why does the professor mention a smeared bit of paint in a doorway in the Moonstone? So the correct answer is to exemplify a pattern repeated in many other detective stories. Okay. Sometimes listening to it twice and knowing the skill tips makes it a difference, right? Okay. So now we're going to learn about connecting content questions, okay? Now, connecting content questions ask you to show understanding of the relationships among ideas in a lecture. Connecting content questions may require you to fill in a chart or table. Connecting content questions, okay? Like in here, fill in a table or chart. What is the likely outcome? Okay, now, connecting content questions measure your understanding of the relationships between ideas in a lecture. These relationships may be explicitly stated, or you may have to infer them from the words you hear. The questions may ask you to organize information in a different way from the way it was presented in the lecture. You might be asked to identify comparisons, cause and effect, or contradiction and agreement. You may be asked to classify items and categories, identify a sequence of events or steps in a process, or specify relationships among objects along dimensions. Connecting content questions are typically phrased as, what is the likely outcome of doing procedure X before procedure Y? What can be inferred about X? What does the professor imply about X? Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you to listen again to part of a conversation. Okay.
And the next thing is, you know Mary's transferring to another college next week, so we'll need someone to take over her role as captain for the second half of the season. And the other players unanimously picked you to take over as captain when Mary leaves.
Wow. I saw everybody this morning and nobody said a word.
They wanted me to tell you. So, do you accept?
Of course. But Susan's a much better player than I am. I'm really surprised they didn't pick her.
They think you're the right one. You'll have to ask them their thoughts.
Okay. I guess one of the first things I'll have to do as captain is make sure we get a thank you card out to the lady who's buying us the jackets.
Good idea. I have her address here somewhere.
And I'll make sure the whole team signs it.
Good. That's all the news there is. I think that's it for now. Oh, let me get you that order form.
Okay.
And
Okay.
So, why is the woman surprised to learn that she has been chosen as the new captain? Click on two answers. She's not the best player on the team. Her teammates did not tell her about the decision. She does not have many friends on the team. She has missed a lot of practices.
A and B.
Wow. Yeah.
I agree.
Hey.
You're fast, and thank God you're not furious. Awesome. Yes.
Well, I will be furious if we do not finish on time.
Okay.
Oh, come on, don't worry, Carla, it's just a joke. Don't worry, go on.
Don't worry. Okay, I worry.
No, do not.
Now I know you're fast. I don't want to know you're furious. Okay, yes, so the correct answer choices are A, she's not the best player on the team, and B, her teammates did not tell her about the decision.
Yeah.
Ta-da!
Peru 10, Mexico 4, Bolivia 1. Ecuador 0.
Ah!
Sorry to tell you the truth, but
Inesita is gonna get furious. You don't
yeah,
want to see
Rache,
Inesita furious.
Yes.
Rache from Ecuador is here. She should participate. Rache Pinta from Ecuador, my good friend.
Oh, come on, Ecuador.
Yes.
Okay, so now inference questions. Okay. So the final type of connecting information question is making inference questions. In this kind of question, you usually have to reach a conclusion based on facts presented in the lecture or conversation. You can recognize inference questions because they use phrases like, what are the implications of? What does the professor imply? What can be inferred? Okay. Now, listen carefully. Take notes.
So, in The Moonstone, as I said, Collins did much to establish the conventions of the detective genre. I'm not going to go into the plot at length, but, you know, the basic setup is there's this diamond of great value, a country house. The diamond mysteriously disappears in the middle of the night. The local police are brought in an attempt to solve the crime, and they mess it up completely. And then the true hero of the book arrives. That's Sergeant Cuff. Now, Cuff, this extraordinarily important character, well, let me try to give you a sense of who Sergeant Cuff is by first describing the regular police. And this is the dynamic that you're going to see throughout the history of the detective novel, where you have the regular cops who are well-meaning but officious and bumblingly inept. And they are countered by a figure who's eccentric, analytical, brilliant, and able to solve the crime. So first, the regular police get called in to solve the mystery. In this case, Detective Superintendent Seagrave. When Superintendent Seagrave comes in, he orders his minions around. They bumble and they actually make a mess of the investigation, which you'll see repeated. You'll see this pattern repeated, particularly in the Sherlock Holmes stories of a few years later, where Inspector Lestrade, this well-meaning idiot, is always countered by Sherlock Holmes, who's a genius.
Okay. Now, what does the professor imply when he says this?
What does the professor imply when he says this?
Well, let me try to give you a sense of who Sergeant Cuff is by first describing the regular police.
So, Sergeant Cuff is unlike the regular police in The Moonstone. The author's description of Sergeant Cuff is very realistic. Sergeant Cuff learned to solve crimes by observing the regular police. Differences between Sergeant Cuff and Sherlock Holmes are hard to describe. So, since I don't want to get killed, the correct answer is da-da! A. Sergeant Cuff is unlike the regular police in The Moonstone.
Hey.
Hey, we all, you guys all won. Bravo, bravissimo. So, you know, it's 11:27 and thank you. So, I want to thank you all for your participation today. This is my email address, and this is Inesita's email address. It has been.
Could you please type them on in the chat, please, Inés?
Of course. I can do that. This is Inesita's email.
Okay, E. Torres.
Okay.
And C. Montes de Oca.
Exactly. We're fast, but we're not furious. So
I love that. I'm gonna use that sentence in my classes.
really, be fast and not furious.
Yes. I love that. I never thought about using that sentence in my classes.
Really?
What I do use is, hey, I try to infect my students and cheer up with me and say, hey, when they make good tries and they success. They have success in classes. Okay, now this is time for the people to give you feedback, make some comments. My first comment is, thank you so much, dear Inés and Carla. I have to be honest. I like to feel a challenge. I like to feel that I can make mistakes. I like to feel that I'm being tested. You know why?
Why?
Because I feel that in spite of being a teacher, in spite of having so many years of experience, I still have things to learn, and I will still make mistakes. And I guess personally that we teachers, we forget that we are also learners and that we also make mistakes. And we must understand that if we make mistakes being teachers, of course, the students will also make mistakes, and we do not have to panic. We have to feel vulnerable. We have to feel feet on earth, no matter if you are the master, PhD, book writer, whatever.
Yes.
Right?
Beautiful words.
No, you inspire me. Your presentation, Inés and Carla, really inspired me. I was listening and I said, oops, I have to study. Oops, I didn't remember this, because I'm very familiar with the Cambridge exams. At the university where I work, we administrate the Cambridge exam. So it's been a real pleasure to read and listen both skills. So thank you so much, Inés and Carla. Rache Pinta from Ecuador wants to say a word. Go on. Rache, my dear friend. Rache?
You're on mute.
Yes.
Rache, could you please unmute your microphone? Well, Roxy in Lima, Peru.
Hello, guys. Thank you very much, Inés and Carla, for those wonderful reminders about how to work with a TOEFL exam from the reading and listening skills. It's very challenging. It's very demanding, but you have presented very clear. I have followed every single detail you have mentioned, and now I feel like I need to listen this video again and then go in detail. Why is this? What is that? And how can we make all things better in order to help our students who are interested in taking these exams? They are not that easy, but there are some hints and some tips that we can follow to help our learners to take these exams. And then it's not just a matter of reading, but to learn how to read, how to do the skimming, the scanning, the gist, reading for purposes as well as for listening. Right? And then one of the advantages we could have when having the exams is that we have first the question. So when we are doing the listening, we can focus on the question exactly before doing the audios, right? But thank you very much for all this information. I appreciate it.
Rosie.
Rachi says that I muted her. No, I didn't. I haven't done anything, my dear Rachi. Keep on trying. Somebody else, please, who wants to express his or her
May I?
opinion.
Maria
Please.
Teresa.
Maria Teresa.
Hello, Maria Teresa in Bolivia.
Hi, thank you very much for all the exercises we went through, because I think we need to be in a position where we are also being tested. And the feeling that sometimes we experience is of anxiety, of trying to find the correct answer, not to be judged, criticized. And it's not always easy to go through that situation when you are a professor or you are on a different level. Thanks a lot. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you all the things that we can learn through the time. And as I always say, we are always in the process of changing and learning different things.
Exactly.
Thanks a lot.
Maria Teresa, I have a favor to ask you. I'm working with Bolivia. Would it be possible for you to send me your email address? Can you send me an email? Thank you, Maria Teresa. You have my email right now.
I'll put it in the chat.
Okay,
Is that okay?
please. Yes,
right.
thank you. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else, please?
Julio, I am Jimmy. Sorry, but that is the name of my wife. I am Jimmy.
Julio, I'm not Julio.
Jaime, sorry, Jaime. I am Jimmy.
Hello, Jimmy.
Hello, great to see you. Hi, Inés. Hi, Carla. Hi. I congratulate for your great presentation, enrichable and for teachers. I am very interested I write an email for you. Maybe I am interested on taking the training course. If you have some information for strange or skills, please let me know.
Where are you, Jimmy, from?
I am from Callao now. I am from Callao now here.
Okay.
Could you write your email in the chat? I'm going to take your email.
Okay. I write in the chat box. Thank you, Carlos.
Dear Rache, you cannot unmute your microphone? No, she can, I guess. Well, somebody else, please. Elba, Irma, Jimmy Ronald, Marco Antonio, Mateo.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, Jimmy, go ahead.
Okay. It's Anthony Michael, not Jimmy.
Anthony, I'm sorry. Anthony, go ahead.
Well, like my mentor, Professor Jaime said that we are very
my goodness, am I your mentor?
you are mentoring in Peru anyway. I've learned a lot from you. We are really engrossed in, especially when you are working in a school where there is Cambridge exams. And we are engrossed in Cambridge exam, but it seems this TOEFL is like an eye-opening, process of learning or doing all the types of high standard exam in English. And it seems really good. And I want to thank you for the presentation. Like Jimmy, I will write to you and we'll see whether we can learn. We are learning every day. We are not having job knowledge. We are learning every day. So I will write to you and I will learn new things from you. And to our organizer, thank you so much for blending this, this program, different things, different program. It's helped each and every one of us to grow. Thanks a lot and thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. And be patient with your baby, please.
Yes, make sure to take care of him, especially during the next year.
Well, anyone else before we have the final words of their presentation?
Yes, Jaime. I was going to say.
Hello, Irma.
Hi.
Ilka from Ecuador, right?
Yes, all the way from Guayaquil.
Yes.
Okay, well, I just want to thank, I always enjoy the presentations that Inés does and perform, and it's great to see that she has a great partner to be working, and thank you a lot. We always need to be reminded about reading and the listening skills, which are the two challenges that we do have with our students in the high school. So thank you. Lovely to hear, Inés, and nice to hear Carla.
Nice.
Thank you.
And by the way, Irma, Inés, and Carla, you will be presenting the second part next semester. For sure, the writing and the speaking skills.
Yes.
Of course.
Fantastic.
Please. And anyone else, please? Okay, so Carla, Ines, it's your time.
Inesita.
Okay, so thank you very much, everyone, for being here. We really appreciate you were here sharing with us. And we are going to see you very soon in the speaking and writing sections webinars. Thank you very much, Jaime, for the opportunity. And thank you to all of you teachers. As you say, we always are learning, and we are here to share each other with our knowledge, with the little things that we know in order to increase our knowledge. Thank you very much for being part of Jaimito's community, and that which I believe is our community too. Thank you, Jaime. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Inés, and I love that, Jaimito's community. So maybe that would be that
You
would
are
be
going
the
to
name.
change the name.
Yes, Jaimito's
Yes.
community. Okay.
Jaimito's community is a fast and lovely community,
Yes.
not a fast and furious community, right?
Yeah. Okay, and
Well.
finally, my dear new friend, Carla Montes, your final words on this session.
Yes, I want to thank you, Jaimito, Inesita, Rosanna, Jimmy, Anthony, Maria Teresa, Irma, Mateo, Jimmy, Marco, Elba, Rachel, and all the people that are going to watch this video after.
Yes.
It's always so nice to spend time with friends. We're all teachers and we're colleagues, and that makes us one, right? Well, you can always contact us. You can always reach to us. You have our email addresses, and we're here to help. We're in this beautiful world, and we want to excel. We want to give our students new tools. We want for them a better future. And by taking the TOEFL IBT test, we know that they are going to get a passport, not only as students, but as professionals and so on. So hope to see you next semester. And thank you for your participation. And it has been an honor on a Sunday cold morning. You have warmed my heart, and thank you again. It has been a pleasure. And Viva Mexico, orale. I just can't, I wish I could eat Peruvian
You will,
ceviche.
for sure, you will.
And, you know, I love Bolivian jewelry. You know, in fact, these are from Bolivia. Like, you know, like we're such a great community.
Yes,
We have so
are.
many things in common. And thanks again.
Thank you. And before we say goodbye, remember our next meeting will be Sunday, the 13th of March. And we will have our good friend, Anthony Michael. He will be talking about post-pandemic life in a post-pandemic world. It sounds like, I don't know, after the war, I don't know, something like that, because it's been a war. Unfortunately, we have another one in Ukraine, and our prayers for those people here in Peru, in Ecuador, and in Latin America who have relatives in Ukraine.
Yes. Thank you very much. And
well, thank you everyone in Facebook Live and here in Zoom, and see you in March. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Ciao.
Ciao.
Bye-bye. Be safe.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
And be fast, but not furious.
Yes.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Goodbye.